With the final chapter of Natalia Grace's story out, People magazine sat down and did a couple of exclusive interviews with her, and we're going to review those articles in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. Psh, sofa's back there. Psh, I'm right here. My name's Paul if you're new to the channel, and if you're not new to the channel, well, my name's still Paul. None of the dogs are here. It's actually very early morning. I kind of got that like early morning puffy face going, so everybody's still sleeping. We are doing a new experiment around the house. So I am waking up early in the morning to record because it is bonkers here if I do not do so. It's like next to impossible. Like I pretty much have to leave the house just because the dog, they're, my boys are puppies, their little brother, their little cousins, brothers, whatever you want to call them. They're, young enough to still be rambunctious and whatnot. So by the time the day gets going, especially if you join me for my live chats in the evening, you already know how it goes. So imagine trying to record like a video with that. So anyways, so I'm up early. I've got my coffee. We're going to dish. Okay. And what we're dishing on today is the Natalia Grace case, whatever you want to call it. Natalia Grace, remember this is a documentary that came out, the story of Natalia Grace, whatever. Well, it wasn't that first. It was headlines of family abandons 8-year-old in an apartment or whatever. And so this started the public's interest in it, and then fast forward, she's gotten her own TV shows, this, that, and the other. Recently, it came out that they did the final chapter, and this is like kind of the ending of the storyline that's been going, telling us Natalia's story from coming from Ukraine, from the Depals to Mike and, the crazy family, if you will, all the way to the Mans, another now that we see kind of, out there family as well, all the way to kind of back to the Depals, right? So she's been on this huge journey, huge scandal as to whether she was 22 or 8 or this, that, the other, whatever. There's that, okay? I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you probably know the case at this point. We're not going to go into a deep dive in that. We're going to review these articles just to hear what they had to say, see if we get any more information from the articles that we did in the TV show and whatnot. I've not read these yet. I've just gone and gotten the bits and pieces of them, so we'll just kind of go through, talk about them, use different parts as talking points. At the end, I'll give some of my opinions and thoughts on it, and on that note, keep in mind, I ain't no doctor, ain't no lawyer, ain't no therapist, ain't no cop, ain't no attorney, ain't none of that stuff, okay? None of that fancy credentialed stuff, okay? Only credentials we got up in here is that sofa, and my sass, okay? So I'm just making opinions on very public information, so do with that what you will. Now let's go ahead, and dive in. So I'm going to put it on the screen here. You see the first article that we're going over. First of all, it's written by Danielle Backer. It was updated on January 8th, 8:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It says, Inside Natalia Grace's new life with family of little people in New York. It is definitely a blessing to be alive. Exclusive. Okay. Well, what is this exclusive tea we're about to get? So it just goes into kind of summing the situation up, which we've seen. It says 3 days before Christmas 2023, the Ukrainian orphan Natalia Grace, 21, who has a rare form of dwarfism, escaped her adoptive family in the middle of the night. And then it's just talking about, we're going to reveal the links that she went to get control over her life after Bishop Antoine and Cynthia Mans. So this is the couple, if you've been watching it, that adopted her from her previous horrible situation, right? Most of us watching this could tell there's something sinister going on here, and it seems to have proven true. If you watch the series, you'll know that the Depals basically were like, we're going to come rescue her from the Mans. They swoop in, they rescue her from the church, and she pretends to go to the bathroom, something like that, and therein starts her new latest journey, okay? So they're just getting us up to par on that. Let's go to the next thing. And it goes into it and it says, the new chapter of the final chapter of the curious case of Natalia Grace. And it just talks about where you can watch it. It says ID and Max. That's where I watched it on, so if you do want to go back and watch it, go check it out there. And it says, that Natalia joined the Manses in their religious lifestyle and helped to care for their 10 siblings while living with the family in Indiana and later in Tennessee. We'll get to some of that drama in a minute. Now, the next thing here says, on the docuseries, several witnesses, neighbors, friends, they saw the Manses whip Natalia with a belt, slap her in the face, lock her in the room, harm her. Now, the Manses and their lawyers did not respond to people's efforts, Danielle writes, to reach them. Natalia declined to confirm or deny the incident multiple times. So pause there for 1 second. If you watched the docuseries and you saw this play out in real time, where not only Natalia, but many people who dealt with the Mans family did not want to speak publicly about the things they saw or that were done to them or their children and whatnot. It seems that the Mans kind of operate on this level of how do you say it, blackmail maybe, holding things over people's heads, manipulation, things of this nature. So with Natalia not speaking of it, because of the context of Natalia's situation and the questioning of, was she really this age and all that drama that went on in the past, I see a lot of people in the comments that are just like, they might not believe her on this and whatnot. For me personally, I believe the incidents of abuse coming from the mans because too many other people were experiencing the same thing and acting the same way that Natalia did about it. Does that mean, I feel like she should completely separate herself from them? Yes, right? And I think she has. But again, there's a portrayal level of TV that they do to kind of drag the stuff out and make it like, was she going to run back to him? Is she going to do this? So on and so forth. Let's keep going. So the next paragraph on this page just talks about Natalia. She lived with the mans for 10 years. Her boyfriend, who lives in the United Kingdom, Neil, he helped her get back in touch with the Depals, and they kind of do this, elaborate plan, as she writes in the last sentence, to escape, and it took months of planning. Now, the TV show, it seemed like it happened very quickly, right? But this took a long time to take place. Now, again, it says late 2023, Nicole Depal and her daughter, Mackenzie Depal, drove from their upstate home in New York. They go to, I believe they were living in Tennessee at this point, the mans, says a church in Nashville, to go get her, and they park outside. If you watch the show or my other coverage on this, then you would have seen me talk about it. But they help her leave, right? And she was scared, she was nervous, and all that kind of stuff. She's calling her mom from the car, but she, as the article says, she knew it was the right decision. Now, let's go read this quote that Danielle has put in her article coming from Natalia, and it says, "The last things I told my sisters were, you guys go ahead to the church sanctuary, and I love you," recalls Natalia. "And then I saw the Depals pull up, and Mac jumped out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's actually here. My heart started pounding. I was terrified. I was completely terrified," she says. It just goes on to continue. It says, "Since then, she's lived with the Depals, who like Natalia, they're little people. She's enjoyed a sense of stability, love, and care. They've helped her get into therapy to cope with her past trauma." Nicole, who says she has no plans to legally adopt Natalia, confesses that while their life together today is usually harmonious, there are times when they don't get along. And then let's hear what Nicole has to say. "At first, it was bumpy because the mans were still involved. They were calling Natalia constantly and trying to will her back in," Nicole tells people. "It was just this constant thing where we were walking a fine line of not doing too much. See, she just came from this house that basically was ruled by a dictator, so I didn't want to tell her what to do. She's also never done one violent thing ever," Nicole continues. "Our dogs love her and they sleep with her. I'm an animal lover. If I didn't trust her, I wouldn't leave my babies with her. They are also a judge of character as well." And then adds husband Vince, "We're trying to guide Natalia, not control her. She's super sweet. She wanted her to fly." Now, let's pause here for this, because I want to go ahead and say this while we're in the moment here. This part right here, and a lot of you that watch me are dog people, animal people, whatever, and there's some truth to this. I'm not sure about cats, but definitely dogs. I don't have enough experience with cats to speak on what I'm about to. Dogs can definitely get a sense of a person, right? And if you're a dog person or dog owner, you know what I'm talking about. And so there's that level. So if this is completely truthful and whatnot, because again, this is Nicole's story here, or her quote, where she's like, look, I want to trust, I want to leave my dogs around her or whatnot, and they like her, they sleep with her. To me, that speaks volumes, because I would never think to leave my dog around someone whom I got a bad vibe from or I didn't trust. This, that, and the other, right? So that part was really like, Now, also the part where she's admitting, she being Nicole, that, we don't get along all the time, because we saw this play out in the TV show. And it was like, how's this going to go? Because remember, at this stage in time, because I know a lot of people believe that, she was, no matter what, they presented evidence and whatnot, that she is of the age that she is, that was a fabrication, basically, of her being young. Nonetheless, or wherever you fall on the spectrum of that belief and whatnot. She's older now, right? Is what I'm getting at. So it's going to be kind of awkward where it's like, she's a young adult. She's gone through all this trauma. She has all these issues going on. There's going to be behavioral things, but there's also this level of she's an adult. You have to kind of guide her, but she's going to have to learn to make her own decisions and whatnot and be in that environment. If you watch the show or followed it, you'll know that the mans, they didn't really do anything in the realm of mental health care or anything like that. It was more, honestly, to me, what it felt like was a grift to get her money. So if she's in a situation with someone like the Depals, where they are helping to assist her in making these decisions, that's probably the best thing for her. Okay, let's continue. Now, the next little thing we're putting up here is just talking about the turbulence, ups and downs over the last couple of years, and that second line there where it says Natalia secretly recording them in their home. They were expecting that kind of thing and whatnot, and it talks about Natalia's diagnosis of RAD, reactive attachment disorder where she basically has a hard time getting attached to people, right? And then the bottom here, we'll read this quote that Danielle includes in her article. It says, did she probably do weird things in the past? Yeah, Nicole says, but when you take a child, you take that child as your own. You don't just get rid of them when they don't fit into your puzzle. And again, it's going to take a lot of patience on this level. I can imagine. So, more power to them. And you could see the tension in the TV show. Like, to me, it was like authentic of like, yeah, there's going to be tension because, Natalia, she's dating this guy. The mans were still very much involved in everything. And Natalia's recording them, like almost like to prove to the mans that she wasn't talking to the Depals badly and whatnot. It was sketch, right? So it's good to see that they're at least acknowledging this and not sweeping it under the rug, because that tells me that it's something that's being dealt with, right? And moved past, hopefully. Now let's go on to this last page, or this other page here. It says Natalia's always loved the Depals and wishes she could have seen them more growing up, but the mans would not allow any contact and whatnot. Now it says here, to kind of bring it up to, wherever we're at today, that Natalia's studying for her GED. She wants to be a school teacher. She listens to Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus. She learns to drive. There are upcoming surgeries that are required for her disabilities that the mans were ignoring, and the Depals are making sure, happen for her. Now it says also that, she's with her boyfriend Neil. And then Danielle quotes Natalia here saying, it's a blessing to be alive today because looking back at my 7-year-old self, I should have been dead, she says. Learning everything that I have about how to live with my dwarfism, it's been a great experience, she says. I love it. I mean, of course, I still miss my siblings and everything, but I love it. I feel free. So, very interesting. Now, let's go back to this other article, this next one here. Now, again, this is as well by Danielle Backer. It says how Natalia Grace took control of her own narrative, becoming a new person. And it talks about that last episode. It says, in the final episode of the final chapter delivers an exciting twist, and that's Natalia Grace's cover shoot with People magazine. And she says this feels like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, she says. She's posing for the camera. Second paragraph down, they quote her saying, I'm really just trying to take control of my life and stop letting other people control it. I feel like I'm becoming this new person, Natalia adds. This version feels amazing. It feels free. The freedom she speaks of is a result of a years-long battle to regain control of her narrative, a story that's been shaped by others at nearly every turn for over 2 decades. And then it goes into talking about Bishop Antoine and Cynthia Mans, we've been speaking of. They began questioning her behavior just 6 months after becoming legal guardians of the 21-year-old with a rare form of dwarfism. The Manses had taken Natalia into their care in 2013, but tensions escalated after they adopted her in 2023. Let's move on to this next page here. It says, much like the earlier seasons of the series, which centered on Natalia's complex relationship with her previous adoptive parents, the Barnett, this goes into the conflict with her third adoptive family. And it says, but this time, the Depals, who we've been speaking of, they tried to adopt her in 2009, but once they hear that things are going on, they're helping her escape and whatnot, and it just goes into that. So then it says, we've read this other part here about the 2023 and her picking him up from the church and whatnot. Now let's go down to this last part of the article on this page, the last paragraph. And it says, what wasn't shown in the series is the emotional toll Natalia faced while on set for the finale. Halfway through the day, her anxiety gave way to panic. Her eyes welled with tears, fogging her black-rimmed glasses. Moments later, she locked herself in a bathroom at the rented warehouse in New York, shouting, "Everyone get out!" as she grappled with a panic attack. After a few tense minutes, she emerged, her breathing steady, her composure regained. And on to the next page here, it says, in her first interview since the show's debut, Natalia sat down with people to share her side of the story. One of survival after years of trauma. She was at times cryptic, nervous, and avoidant, but also cheerful and bubbly when speaking about her hopes for the future. Now, we'll go into the quotations from the interview and whatnot. And Natalia says, now I want to take control of my life, grab a hold of my life, and steer it where I want to go, she says on camera. She acknowledges the labels that have haunted her for years, including the portrayal of her as a murder, massacre, or sociopath, and seeks to clear the air. I'm just a normal girl with dreams, like being on the cover of People, she says. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I just feel like the people being able to see the story and encourage them to know that they can do whatever they want, that they put their minds to. And then it goes down, talking about the years of public scrutiny that she went through, that left investigators' view as all completely, in this confused state or whatever. And then it says, as legal expert Beth Karas wonders in the final chapter, was Natalia an adult or a child? Was she a sociopathic villain, or was she a misunderstood, abused victim? And then she says, throughout this whole saga, we tried to separate the truth from lies. Beth Karas reflects in the final episode, it wasn't always easy to figure out who we could trust. It's like everyone everyone tried to turn Natalia into something she's not, instead of trying to figure out who she really is. But Natalia fought to speak her truth. And then continuing on, it just says, now with her truth laid bare, Natalia says she is contented. It's been an amazing feeling to know that my story had inspired people, she says on camera. Just seeing what I went through, and even someone with my disability, you can do anything you put your mind to. You can get through anything that life throws at you, she says. At the end of the day, something good happened from it. It's time to rewrite my story. And so those are the two that we're going to go over. Now let's conclude with some thoughts and whatnot. And I do like, this aspect where Natalia's ending it on, I'm telling my story, I'm putting this out there, I'm glad to see that it's helping other people in whatever situations, because I think us as humans, as people, as living our lives and whatnot, that's something that we all do. We all have these experiences that we go through, these lessons that we learn, some good, some hard, some whatever. And by getting out there and speaking those and telling our stories, it just connects you to everybody else and makes you say, okay, well, if they could do that, I could too. Or, oh, maybe I'm not so alone in this. Or maybe I'm not so bad after all. Or, oh, wait, maybe this was great. Whatever, however that fits in, right? Now, specifically for this, if you've been watching this, been following this, you'll know a huge narrative of this that was coming out is the fact that basically Natalia has been financially manipulated by the mans, which most of us could see that from 10 miles away. But unfortunately, Natalia did not, and it is what it is. And I think now she does. But they took her for a huge ride, a financially devastating one. So something like doing the People cover, doing this final episode or this final chapter, the season, whatever you want to call it, she could definitely set things right to get herself out of the financial situation she's in, because the Depals were sitting there at the end being like, look, you're going to get hit with taxes and they spent all your money and they're keeping it and they have you in this contract, they're still taking your money and blah, 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 blah. So if she can spend some solid time with the Depals to have them come in, help clean up the mess, get her situated, going on her way, is she still going to have issues? Of course, right? Anybody would, okay? It's just like we all have our issues in life. Do I think she'll have a little bit more? Clearly, right? She's been through an experience that a lot of us can't say that we've been through or we want to go through, but it can get her set on the right track. Personally, do I think that we'll see her again? She could probably have a career of reality TV, honestly. We could probably see a season of her living off on her own, going with her boyfriend. I mean, whatever, you name it, right? They could be there. And that was the one thing that was interesting from Beth, who spoke at the end here, is this is so tricky trying to separate lies from fact and fiction and this and that, because there is some confusing things. And I mean, to me, I'm like, she's going to have behavioral issues, right? Period. End of story. I get that, but deciphering all of that. Now, granted, the age difference thing, I felt like the scientists kind of proved that, give or take a year or two. But the discrepancy of being an 8-year-old's posing, or a 22-year-old's posing an 8-year-old, I felt like was laid to rest, right? But nonetheless, okay, it was still, a lot of people feel a certain way about her in the situation. Time will tell, that's really all that will happen, is time will tell. If we start seeing just drama and this and that and the other, in the headlines, well, then right? Because trust me, we'll hear about it. Oh, we will hear about it, right? So that's it. I just wanted to follow up with the coverage and go over these articles and whatnot. We'll see. I personally think we'll see another season. Like I said, we'll just kind of hang tight. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I do appreciate if you're still watching. If you could, go on, drop some sofas off in that comment section for me. Pretty please, thank you. While you're down there doing all that, little Bo and I, well, he's out sleeping, but little Bo, Luke, and I, as well as Roscoe, we're going to meander our way down there, hang out, talk, converse about these cases, all the other ones we do. And until we do get to meandering down there, I'll see y'all soon. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now, don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Roscoe on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.